returned from the audition, she freshened up before heading out to the supermarket to buy hot pot ingredients, some dishes, and beer. After experiencing such an ordeal, she had to have a hot pot celebration at home. A single person having hot pot by herself was really the ultimate level of loneliness. However, she had always been by herself, so she was used to it. Right after she had started heating up the pot and finished preparing the dishes, the doorbell rang. Who could possibly visit at this hour? Ningxi opened the door curiously and was shocked. On her doorstep stood Lu Tingzhao in a neat suit under a large black coat. In his arms he carried Little Treasure, who was holding a colorful fruits basket. This was an odd pairing. Mr. Lu. Ningxi felt so frightened. Why did you come here? It's quite late. Is something the matter? To check on your health, Lu Tingxiao replied curtly. Check on my health? Personally coming over to her place late at night, bringing Little Treasure with him? She had only been hurt slightly. She could still run and jump around. Ah, Mr. Lu, you're too kind. Please come in. I apologize since my home is a little messy. Ningxi couldn't process the situation fast enough. She felt extremely flustered as she invited them in and then hurriedly tidied up what she could, shoving magazines under the sofa and her scattered clothes under the bed. Sit wherever you like. Would you like anything to drink? Will tea and milk do? She tried to guess what Lu Tingxiao would want, but he was too much of a mystery for her to figure out. That's fine. Lu Tingxiao nodded his head, his expression making him seem like a soldier reporting to his superiors. Ningxi boiled some water for Lu Tingxiao's tea and poured a glass of milk for Little Treasure. Lu Tingxiao's long and lanky figure made him appear a bit squished on the couch with Little Treasure beside him. Not only did the father and son pair have cool, handsome features, even their expressions appeared the same. They were both expressionless and wouldn't speak, and created the same cold, silent atmosphere. When Ningxi saw this, she wanted to cry, but had no tears. Really, what did these two come here for? At this moment, the pot started to wheeze, and an enticing spicy smell filled the air. To break the silence, Ningxi casually asked, "Have you two eaten dinner yet?" "I prepared a hot pot. Would you like to eat together?" Lu Tingxiao, "Okay." Little Treasure nodded his head. She simply asked out of politeness, what were they implying by agreeing so readily? One was a big CEO and the other was a young master. What treasures and delicacies had they not tried? And yet they would run over to her place to eat a commoner's spicy hot pot with her. Ningxi couldn't bear to bring out the food, but since she had already offered, she could only be thick-skinned by leading them to the table and putting out another 2 sets of chopsticks and bowls. "The soup base I bought is pretty spicy. Can you handle spicy food?" Ningxi asked restlessly. Lu Tingxiao, "That's fine." Little Treasure nodded again. "Okay." Ningxi brought the prepared ingredients over. Lu Tingxiao didn't eat much, and for the most part, he cooked vegetables for them. However, Little Treasure loved spicy food as much as she did, and the two of them couldn't stop eating once they tasted the spiciness in their mouths. After a while, Ningxi felt a little worried. Isn't it bad if children eat too much spicy food? If something happened to the little prince, she wouldn't be able to bear the responsibility. "He's not that weak," Lu Tingxiao replied. Hearing this, Ningxi didn't say anything else. How was the audition? The silent and cold machine, Lu Tingzhao, had finally taken the initiative to speak first. Ningxi was shocked, but recovered quickly and replied, "It was successful. That's why I prepared this hot pot celebration tonight." Lu Tingxiao raised his cup. "Congratulations. Who knew the first one to congratulate her would be Lu Tingxiao?" Ningxi smiled genuinely and lightly clanked her beer against his cup. "Thanks." The moment she smiled, Lu Tingxiao felt blinded. After Ningxi said her thanks, she looked at Little Treasure. "This is also thanks to Little Treasure. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been able to rush over for my audition. Come, darling, let's have a drink too." Little Treasure looked at his glass of milk and then looked at Ningxi and his father's beers. He felt unwilling, but ultimately, he clinked his cup against Ningxi's beer and chugged all his milk. Ningxi found his serious demeanor amusing. Did he know about drinking away his sorrows like adults? Halfway through dinner, Lu Tingxiao went to the patio to receive an incoming call. Ningxi nudged Little Treasure and handed her beer to him. "Hey, are you curious about the taste? Quick, while your father isn't here, have a little bit, but only one sip." Little Treasure's eyes lit up like stars in the sky, and he lowered his head to drink a bit. Although the taste wasn't good, he was extremely happy nonetheless. After Lu Tingxiao finished his call and came back, Ningxi was sitting properly and pretending nothing had happened. Little Treasure was even more professional, slowly drinking his milk, nothing out of the ordinary. Lu Tingxiao looked as though he hadn't noticed anything, but a brief warmth flickered in his eyes. The three of them had pretty good appetites. Ningxi had bought a lot of groceries, but they still managed to finish everything. Ningxi saw the time and realized it was getting pretty late. Just as she thought about whether or not they should head back soon, lightning flashed outside the window, followed by loud booming sounds of thunder. It looked like the onset of a heavy storm. I watched the Weather Channel today, and they announced that tonight there was going to be a storm followed by a typhoon. Ningxi felt a headache coming on as she looked at the rain outside her window. Little Treasure looked at Ningxi, as did Lu Tingxiao. Finally, after being stared at by the father and son pair for a while, she said, "It's late. The weather isn't looking good, so if Mr. Lu were to bring Little Treasure home, it might be dangerous. How about you two stay the night here with me?" She had said this out of courtesy, and she felt that Lu Tingxiao would definitely not agree to it. In the end, Lu Tingxiao, "All right." Little Treasure nodded his little head repeatedly. "What?" he agreed again. Lu Tingxiao was too unreserved. Why did she feel as though they both had been waiting for her to make the offer? She was about to go crazy. In the end, Lu Tingxiao and Little Treasure would stay the night. The residence her company had given her was not big. It only had a bedroom and a living room. Deciding where the three of them would sleep was going to be a problem. "Tonight, I'll sleep in the living room. Mr. Lu, you and Little Treasure can sleep in my bedroom. I'm going to go change the bed sheets first." "No need, I'll sleep in the living room. You can sleep with Little Treasure in the bedroom." Lu Tingxiao's tone allowed no further discussion. Read latest chapters at novelbin.com only. Ningxi felt that she had sinned. Not only did she let the big CEO eat a cheap hot pot, she was making him sleep in the living room. If it had only been Lu Tingxiao without his son tonight, even if it was hailing, she wouldn't have allowed him to stay, since a single man and a single woman under one roof would only be trouble. Especially after what Lu Tingxiao had said to her during the day. But she had no choice, and there was also Little Treasure. For Lu Tingxiao to bring his son home in such bad weather would be really dangerous. With Little Treasure here, the situation couldn't be so bad, right? Ningxi could only accept her fate. "I'll go see if I can find some clothes for you both so that you can wash and change." After rummaging through her closet, she really did find some. Ningxi had some props from one of her part-time jobs, one of which was a pair of Pikachu costume pajamas for children. She had casually packed it away, but now it was perfect for Little Treasure to wear. Finding clothes for Lu Tingxiao was even easier since her younger brother had left some of his clothes at her place. After reuniting with her birth parents, Ningxi had felt guilty towards her adoptive parents. She couldn't bring herself to face them properly, and so she slowly lost touch with them, only keeping in touch with her brother, Tang Luo. After finding all the clothes, Ningxi also found a blanket and pillow for Lu Tingxiao. The sofa in the living room wasn't big enough and could not accommodate Lu Tingxiao's long legs, so she could only add a chair to extend the length. Little Treasure was really good at not letting others worry about him, as he had already showered by himself, put on the pajamas, and climbed into bed. After Ningxi finished showering, she put on some conservative sleepwear and confirmed she wasn't revealing any inappropriate parts of her body. Then, "Mr. Lu, I'm going to bed now. If you need anything, just call for me." "All right." Seeing a Ningxi who had just showered, Lu Tingxiao was disoriented for a moment. Soon after, his gaze became focused, and his vision was filled with only her. Her hair was tied into a simple bun, and she was wearing the most basic design for two-piece pajamas. She wasn't wearing any makeup, but her jade-like skin had a natural flush from the steam of her hot shower. Seeing that Ningxi had purposely dressed conservatively, there should be nothing inappropriate about her appearance. In Lu Tingxiao's heart, however, there was a problem, because he noticed that a certain part of his lower body was slowly rousing itself. Ningxi went into her bedroom, and suddenly noticing the little creature on her bed, she felt intrigued. Since last night, a lot of unexpected things had happened that were beyond her control. Quickly go to sleep. She knelt next to Little Treasure after turning off all the lights except for the small one by the side of the bed. Little Treasure kept his eyes open, indicating his intention to stay awake. Ningxi started to have a headache. A bedtime story was required to lull a child like this to sleep. Ningxi helplessly threw up her hands. I don't know how to tell stories, so how about I sing you a song? Little Treasure nodded his head, his face expectant. And so, Ningxi lightly patted Little Treasure's back and began to sing softly. On a somewhat cold and warm autumn day, tranquilly by your side, quietly watching the flickering light dance, the wind carries a few red leaves. Stirred up hearts go on, between being half drunk and half awake. I laugh uncontrollably. Let me float like the snowflakes amongst the clouds, using my frigid coldness to kiss others lightly, bringing out waves of their emotions, leaving behind who knows how much love in the world, while welcoming fleeting life and its many changes. Ningxi stopped singing here because the next line was, doing joyous matters with your lover. How was this lyric appropriate for such a young child? Cough. Auntie won't sing the rest of this song, so I'll sing a different one for you. Little Treasure was very cooperative and nodded his head in agreement. Ningxi searched her brain for the safest, most appropriate song for a child. In a happy pond, there was a little frog. It jumped and danced like a prince had possessed its body. With its handsome gaze, no other frog was more beautiful. Then one day, it was awakened by a princess. I believe in miracles. I believe I will one day be your partner, la 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 la. After singing the frog song 3 times, she finally heard the sweet sounds of breathing by her side. Having a child is really not easy. She suddenly felt great admiration towards Lu Tingxiao as a single father. She didn't know who Little Treasure's mother was, but why did she give birth to him and not stay with Lu Tingxiao? Was it because her status was too low and the Lu family wouldn't accept her? Or had she and Lu Tingxiao quarreled over some unknown matter? While thinking of all these possibilities, Ningxi gradually succumbed to the dream realm. Halfway through the night, Ningxi was scared awake by a sound from the living room. Little Treasure slept heavily as Ningxi lightly got off the bed to find out what had happened. Opening her bedroom door, she saw Lu Tingxiao pouring himself a glass of water, one hand clutching his stomach and his face ghastly pale. Ningxi rushed over. Mr. Lu, are you all right? It's nothing. Do you have a stomachache? Lu Tingxiao was silent. Ningxi knew she had guessed right. Lu Tingxiao couldn't handle spicy food. But if he couldn't handle it, why had he still eaten it? Wait a second, I'll get you some medicine. Luckily, her house was well stocked with medical supplies. Ningxi hurriedly brought over the stomach medication. You have to eat both pills. Thanks. Lu Tingxiao took the caplets from her palm, the coolness of his skin lightly grazing hers and giving her a shock which engraved itself into her heart. It was currently very late into the night, and with a beauty standing before her, in such a difficult, dangerous situation, it was very easy to light a fire. Ningxi silently recited math equations in her head to calm her heart. As she watched Lu Tingxiao take his medicine, she felt it wouldn't be appropriate to just leave and decided to accompany him for a while. Is it better now? Do we need to go to the hospital? I'm sorry, I didn't know you couldn't eat spicy food. Originally, she was worried about Little Treasure eating too much spicy food, but in the end, Little Treasure was fine, but Lu Tingxiao was not. What kind of situation was this? It's no big deal. Both of them didn't say anything for a while before Lu Tingxiao finally opened his mouth. Tonight, we came to bother you because Little Treasure wanted to see you. Discover new chapters on N0Vilbincom. Ningxi felt surprised. Little Treasure wanted to see me? Since you saved him after the scare he received in the bar storeroom, Little Treasure is now very reliant on you, Lu Tingxiao explained. Ningxi realized that if Little Treasure was nearby, or whenever the topic of Little Treasure came up, Lu Tingxiao's unfathomable cold demeanor would soften. He was not as frightening as he had been at the hospital during the day. So it was like this. Ningxi nodded her head. The atmosphere created from being up this late at night tended to make people lower their guards and confess their worries. So Ningxi asked a question she'd been thinking about a lot. That, if I may boldly ask, does Little Treasure not know how to speak? She had never heard Little Treasure utter a single word. The little guy only knew how to nod or shake his head. It's not that he doesn't know how, he just doesn't want to speak, Lu Tingxiao replied. So, it's a psychological issue? Ning Shi furrowed her brow. Yes, Lu Tingxiao didn't intend to hide anything. It was almost as she had guessed. As for the issue of what had happened to trigger the child's trauma like this, Ning Ji dared not ask further about such a secret. Miss Ning, Lu Tingxiao suddenly fixed his attention on her. His gaze was cold, yet it gave her a scorching hot feeling which excited and exhausted her. Yes? Ning Shi froze under his gaze. Have we met somewhere before? Lu Tingxiao asked. If anyone else had asked this question, Ning Shi would assume that the other person was hitting on her, using a completely worn-out pickup line. But the person speaking was Lu Tingxiao. Also, there was an entirely serious and honest expression in his eyes. I don't think we have. If I had seen a person like you before, Mr. Lu, it's impossible that I would have no recollection of it whatsoever. Is there a problem? Ning Shi's tone was firm. Even if she was the eldest miss of the Ning family, there was absolutely no possibility of having met Lu Tingxiao, who was of a higher and different class. It's nothing. Lu Tingxiao directed his gaze, dark as the night outside, towards the window. He seemed forlorn. If this kind of tete-a-tete continued, the atmosphere would not be good. Mr. Lu, if you're all right now, I'm going to head back to bed, Ning Shi said carefully. Lu Tingxiao saw through her and waved his hand. No rush, sit. No rush. She was really rushed, okay? With a face like she was about to cry, Ning Shi sat down obediently, like a student in class. Lu Tingxiao rested his head in one hand. Are you that scared of me? A late-night Lu Tingxiao was much more unreserved than the daytime Lu Tingxiao, so he was even more dangerous. Ning Shi shook her head like a rattle, but then nodded her head. You're a king. Who wouldn't be afraid of you? Lu Tingxiao swirled the water in his glass and said faintly, so because other people are afraid of me, you are afraid of me. Then, all the other women want to marry me, but why don't you? This question nearly scared Ning Shi into falling off her chair. She thought she had already dodged this bullet during the day, but she was just too naive. This question made her feel like 1,000 knives were directed at her. How was she supposed to answer it? Ning Shi raised a shaking hand. Before I answer this question, can I ask a question first? Lu Tingxiao nodded. Sure. Why me? Is it because Little Treasure is reliant on me? I think this is only temporary. Wait until his emotions settle down and it'll be fine. Even if he is always going to be like this, you don't need to. You don't need to force yourself. Ning Shi earnestly advised and persuaded. Lu Tingxiao lowered the glass in his hand and lifted his eyes to meet hers. Miss Ning, I believe that I explained very clearly in the beginning. Because you saved Little Treasure, I decided that I would repay you with my body. This kind of explanation is so weird it blinds me. There's no way I could accept this, all right? Ning Shi howled in her heart. Ning Shi felt that she couldn't possibly get through to him if they persisted in this vein, so she could only put on an apologetic face and say, Mr. Lu, I really appreciate your intention, but I'm not a person who wants to get married, so... Lu Tingxiao furrowed his brow. So, you only want to sleep with me, and you don't want to marry me? That's right. Pa! No. I don't mean it like that. Ning Shi was ready to just kneel before him. Can you not say such horrifying things? How regretful. I only accept sexual relationships with marriage as a prerequisite. Who would believe that? Ning Shi could not help saying, Didn't you have a child outside of marriage? Lu Tingxiao looked out the window with a slightly absent-minded expression. Oh, Little Treasure was an accident. Even I don't know who the mother is. Why did this sound so bad? Is it because you mind that I have a son? Lu Tingxiao abruptly asked. Impossible. Like Lu Tingxiao had said, if you cut open the brain of every woman who lived in the city, you would know they all wanted to be Little Treasure's stepmother. How could she mind such a thing? Then why? Seeing his expression, she knew that Lu Tingxiao would not let her go until she answered the question. Ning Shi raised her head and let out a deep breath. Mr. Lu, marriage isn't a game. Whether it's to repay me or for any other reason, we should at least get to know each other. Do you know what kind of person I am? Do you know my past? The one I want to marry is the present you. Your past has nothing to do with me. Of course this would be Lu Tingxiao's answer. It was as tyrannical and overbearing as it could possibly be. Ning Shi's expression turned frosty. Except to me, my past is a part of me. I can't cut out that part of me to marry you. Mr. Liu, there is no point in being together with someone who follows different principles. I sincerely advise that you take back your ridiculous offer. Her statement was followed by a cold silence. Right when Ning Shi thought the other party was so furious from shame he was about to fly into a rage, Lu Tingxiao opened his mouth and calmly said, I understand. Ning Shi relaxed and replied, I'm going to bed then. Good night. Good night. The man stared at her seemingly fragile silhouette, his gaze unfathomable like the ocean. The only thing unchanged was the boiling heat at the bottom of the sea. The next morning, Ning Shi was awakened by a low male voice coming from the living room. Hearing footsteps behind him, Lu Tingxiao lowered his phone and asked in a gentle tone, Did I wake you? Ning Shi stared at the man in front of her, her eyes wide like copper bells. Lu Tingxiao wasn't wearing a shirt, so when she opened the door, the first thing she saw was his bare skin. The impact was too much. She rubbed her nose. Thankfully, she hadn't embarrassed herself. Lu Tingxiao didn't seem to have noticed her strange behavior and calmly picked his shirt up from the sofa. As he buttoned it on, he said, There's an emergency at work. I have to go. I'll have to trouble you to go wake little treasure up. Oh, okay. Ning Shi nodded and quickly went to do so. But she didn't have to. When she turned around, she saw a soft and cute little Pikachu standing in the doorway. His eyes were staring intently at his father, Lu Tingxiao, and he appeared displeased. Little treasure, go change your clothes, Lu Tingxiao ordered this son as he put on his coat. The reply he received was the loud bang of the bedroom door being slammed shut. Ever so merciless, Lu Tingxiao, Ning Shi. Lu Tingxiao went to turn the doorknob, but it was locked. He looked at Ning Shi. Do you have the key? Ning Shi awkwardly shook her head. I do have one, but the key is also inside the room. Lu Tingxiao pinched the skin between his eyebrows and said in a cold, unfathomable tone, I'll give you 3 minutes. If you don't come out, don't think you'll ever get to come here again. 3 minutes later, there was still no sound or motion behind the door. Get out here. If you're waiting for me to force you out, I won't be as nice as I am right now. There was still no movement. That little treasure was really not giving his father any face. Watching from the sidelines, Ning Shi wanted to laugh, but didn't dare to. I have work later, but it's no big deal if little treasure stays to play for a while. Lu Tingxiao's expression was irritated and displeased as he took out his phone to make a call. Ning Shi took a sneaky peek and saw that he was calling a psychiatrist. She was at a loss for words. Wasn't it too extreme to call a psychiatrist for such a small matter like this? Ning Shi coughed as she urged, How about letting me try? Lu Tingxiao hesitated slightly before nodding. Ning Shi pressed against the door and used a gentle, soothing voice. Little treasure, Auntie has to go to work, so I can't take care of you. Follow your father home first, okay? There was still no sound from inside. How about this? We can exchange phone numbers so we can instantly contact each other. We can even video chat. Sounds of footsteps approached the other side of the door. If Auntie is late, the director will yell at me. Our director is really mean. Auntie is so pitiful. WWW. The door unlocked with a catchy sound and then opened. Lu Tingxiao, who was already prepared to fight a long war, felt that he was dreaming. He stared at the woman standing beside him with bewilderment. With just 3 statements, she had managed to coax little treasure into obediently coming out by himself. If only he had known her when little treasure had locked himself in the attic the last time this happened. His entire family of 4, all the butlers and servants, the psychiatrist, even a negotiation expert who had been hired as a last resort, had all been useless despite spending an entire afternoon trying to talk him out of the attic. In the end, they broke the door down and the little kid ignored everyone for a whole month. Ning Shi, of course, didn't know about any of this and only thought the child was really obedient despite his tragic air. She picked little treasure up. Seeing his depressed expression, she was unwilling to scold him and praised him instead. Little treasure is so obedient. Thanks, darling. Little treasure appeared happier with the praise and he silently gave her a note. On the paper, there was a string of numbers. Ning Shi accepted the note. Ah, is this your phone number? All right, I'll save it, and when I'm not busy, I will definitely give you a call. Lu Tingxiao felt it a bit strange. Little treasure didn't have a cell phone, so what phone number did he give her? Using his height to his advantage, he looked at the note. That was his phone number. You really are my son. Starlight Entertainment. Inside the office, a completely flustered and exasperated Chang Li exclaimed, Ning Shi auditioned and was cast as the second female lead. Second female lead? Ning Shueluo creased her forehead at the information. Wasn't she playing some random role in an unknown movie? When did she have time to audition for the second female lead? I originally thought it was strange too, but after asking around, I found out it was after the auditions for the first female lead ended. The casting judges were leaving, and it just so happened that they ran into Ning Shi. The moment they saw her, they immediately decided she fit the role of the second female lead. They only gave her one glance, and it was decided like that. No wonder you feel threatened by her. What a schemer she is. Who knows who she had to seduce to get this role? There were some things Chang Li didn't dare say. Ning Shi's looks were her best weapon. The fact that the casting judges decided on her with just one glance was not strange at all. She thought back to when she had first signed Ning Shi as an artiste. She had been prepared to nurture her, but out of nowhere came Ning Shueluo. On one hand, a new artiste with no power or backing. On the other hand, an already famous celebrity with a strong and powerful family background. Anyone would know how to choose. The entertainment industry was not a place where you could survive on beauty alone. Ning Shueluo was displeased. Even if she's not the first female lead, this is still a huge production. Chang Li could hear in her tone that she did not want Ning Shi to be cast in this role. She felt conflicted. I'm afraid it'll be difficult to remove her. Our company invested a lot of money into this drama, and the boss is really happy after being able to secure the first and second female leads. If there was someone from our company who could replace her, that would be fine, however. Everyone else has already failed the auditions. So there's no good reason to remove her. Who knew what Ning Shueluo was thinking, but she suddenly calmed down and began filing her nails. She laughed. Never mind. Since she wants to play the role of a fox demon, then let her. Playing a seductress who brings disaster really suits her. Ning Shi soon received a phone call from Chang Li, notifying her that her casting in Less Than the World Greater Than as the second female lead was confirmed. She was also told to properly prepare for the part. In the movie Less Than the World Greater Than, the first female lead was righteous, brilliant, and courageous, and would help the male protagonist ascend the throne. Meanwhile, the second female lead brought calamity to the country and the people. She was treacherous and cunning, and was spurned by all. To everyone's satisfaction, she would ultimately meet her end with the first female lead, making her jump off a cliff. Because it was such a character, it was unsurprising that Ning Shueluo wasn't bothered to interfere with the casting. Although Ning Shi had landed the role of second female lead, she still needed to complete her existing work. Today, she still had a production she needed to run to. Her role was a husband-stealing vixen, and she only needed to film the last 5 minutes. Under the blistering sun, she would be surrounded by angry people and beaten violently for 5 minutes. However, the reality of film was that these 5 minutes actually took a little over 2 hours to complete, because the group of actors was inexperienced. Their expressions were not in sync, so she had to be hit repeatedly. Returning home, Ning Shi turned on the television as she lay on the sofa, completely exhausted. A news broadcast was on, and then a familiar person appeared on the screen. Such flourishing beauty, such broad shoulders, a slim butt and long legs, such height and such an ascetic temperament. Who else could it be but Little Treasure's father, Lu Tingxiao? Lu Tingxiao appeared to be in the middle of a signing ceremony and was shaking hands with several foreigners. The host sounded very enthusiastic when introducing the successful collaboration between Lu Corporation and the Italian Dr. brand. Entering the European market would possibly double the company's stock value. After watching for a while, Ning Shi finally realized that she had forgotten to give Little Treasure a call. At the Platinum Palace, the two elders of the Lu family had returned from overseas, and the family of 5 were having dinner together. The business deal the Lu Corporation had pursued for 3 years was finally sealed, making the old master very happy. He praised Lu Tengxiao very highly. Even Lu Jingli got some compliments. After he was finished, however, he brought up the most crucial issue, that while work was important, his precious grandson took even more priority. Master Lu, Tingxiao, work is very important, but you can't just neglect Little Treasure. Since you will be less busy in the upcoming days, spend more time with Little Treasure. Madam Lu, but if you're really busy, then find someone to help you take care of him. Little treasure is already so big, you should really consider finding someone. Master Lu, your mother is right. Lu Jingli gave his brother a meaningful glance. Look, our parents are starting again. Lu Tingxiao focused on eating dinner, not uttering a single word. Little treasure held his father's cell phone, not moving at all. Madame Lu watched the father and son pair, who were both stiff like wood. It really broke her heart. Tingxiao, did you hear what I said? And what's going on with little treasure? He hasn't eaten a grain of rice all night. My baby darling is only staring at the cell phone. Lu Jingli was still chewing on the sweet and sour ribs, so when he spoke, it was unclear. Little treasure is waiting for the pretty auntie's phone call. Madame Lu was confused. What pretty auntie? Lu Jingli waved his hand. Dad and Mom, you don't have to worry. My older brother already found someone he likes. Madame Lu was shocked, but still disbelieving. Are you telling the truth? Old too, don't lie to us. Master Lu's expression was serious as he put down his chopsticks to observe Lu Jingli. Why would I lie? This is the truth. If you don't believe me, you can ask my older brother, Lu Jingli said while looking at his brother. Tingxiao, is what Jingli said true? Master Lu asked gruffly. Tingxiao, why don't you say something? Madame Lu urged. Lu Tingxiao, yes. Madame Lu felt as though she was going to die of impatience, like she had waited half a day to only hear a single yes. Her stomach was full of anger. You brat, why can't you say more than one word? Talking to you is such a waste of effort. Lu Tingxiao said, is that so? Great, so he could say more than one word. Madame Lu still wasn't reassured and asked suspiciously, Tingxiao, the person that you like, is it a he or she? Lu Tingxiao's face went black, his teeth nearly gnashing together, and he spat out, female. Lu Jingli laughed so hard he nearly fell off the chair. Of course it's a woman, and a very beautiful one. Our little treasure likes her so much that he's even waiting for her call. When Madame Lu heard this, she was ecstatic. The ancestors have blessed us. The ancestors have blessed us. Tingxiao, which family's young miss is this? How old is she? Where did she come from? What does she do? How big is her household? Why didn't you tell us sooner? Lu Jingli hurriedly cut her off. Mom, calm down. Nothing has even happened between them yet. We didn't tell you because we were afraid you would intervene and ruin everything. If they found out who Ning Shi was, about her less than stellar reputation, and the fact that she was currently working in the entertainment industry, their plans would surely go sour. At this time, Master Lu said, since Tingxiao likes this person, then she must be decent. Don't worry so much. What don't worry? Aren't you worried yourself? Who is it that worries so much he can't sleep at night and has to go out to the porch to smoke? Madame Lu mercilessly exposed her own husband. But after hearing what her husband had to say, she relaxed a lot. Tingxiao's standard is so high, the girl he likes must be pretty good. Even Little Treasure likes her. After everyone quieted down, the cell phone Little Treasure had been holding all night suddenly rang. This was Lu Tingxiao's personal cell phone, so not many people knew the number. Lu Jingli rushed over to see. Indeed, it was Ning Shi's phone number. Is that girl calling? Madame Lu excitedly asked, rushing over as though she was going to meet her daughter-in-law. Lu Jingli nodded his head and then helped Little Treasure answer the phone. Little Treasure didn't know how to use cell phones. Lu Tingxiao had bought him a cell phone before, but he hadn't liked to use it, and who knows where it went. At the same time, the entire table of people were focused completely on the cell phone. Lu Jingli was the most shameless, pressing against the side of the cell phone to eavesdrop. Ning Shi had struggled for a long time about whether to call or not, but in the end, she made the call. Due to the incident 5 years ago, she was actually not too fond of children and even avoided getting close to them. It would only cause her to think of unhappy memories and to think of the child she had lost. That child had once carried her warm hopes, but also represented the dirtiest part of her past. For some unknown reason, Little Treasure didn't discomfort her at all. On the contrary, the more she saw him, the more she liked him, and couldn't help but want to be closer to him. It was really strange. Hello, hello? The call connected, but there was no sound. Ning Shi knew that it had to be Little Treasure, and she laughed lightly. Is it Little Treasure? Sorry, Auntie just finished work and just remembered to call you. Little Treasure wasn't capable of replying, so Ning Shi could only talk like she was talking to herself. With no proper topic of conversation, she had to find something to say. Darling, have you eaten yet? You're too skinny, so you have to eat a lot, okay? Children shouldn't be picky, only then will you grow quickly. Actually, being chubby would make you even more adorable. Although right now, you are already cute enough. Oh, right, I just saw on TV that your father successfully closed a big business deal. He's really amazing, so help me congratulate him. 10 minutes later, Little Treasure put down the cell phone and took out a tablet that had not been used in a long time. He quickly wrote something down. Congratulations. Even if Little Treasure could not speak, he was very fluent in Chinese and English. He felt, though, that Chinese was bothersome to write, so for the most part, he would write in English. However, he had not written anything in a long time, because he had had no desire to communicate. The two elders were completely shocked. Discover new chapters on N0VILBIN.com. Lu Jingli had witnessed this before, so he was rather calm about it. Lu Tingxiao had secretly heard what Ningxi had said on the phone, so when he saw the word on the whiteboard, his usually frozen face displayed a rare smile as he rubbed his son's little head. Thanks. After Little Treasure had finished writing, he started to eat his dinner in a serious manner. He was even eating the carrots he hated most. The two elders remained in stunned silence. Their eldest son had smiled. Their good grandson had written a word. Their good grandson was taking the initiative to eat dinner. Their good grandson was even eating carrots. Madame Lu finally recovered from her incredulity and immediately asked, Jingli, what did the girl on the phone say to Little Treasure just now? Master Lu's face showed that he also wanted to know. Questioned by his parents, Lu Jingli slowly replied, Nothing much. She only told Little Treasure not to be so picky with his food and to have Little Treasure pass on her congratulations to my elder brother. Madame Lu's face was filled with disbelief. That's it? Lu Jingli shrugged his shoulders. What else would there be? Master Lu's face was full of gratitude. One phone call from this girl can already do this much. The results are already even better than 1 year of working with the psychiatrist. It really is. Madame Lu was both surprised and delighted. This lady is really not bad. Tingxiao, work hard. Lu Tingxiao, yes. Madame Lu didn't give her eldest son a second glance before turning to her youngest son. Old too. Your brother is a piece of wood. He won't know how to woo girls, so you have to help him, do you understand? Now you realize how useful I am. Lu Jingli chortled. Relax, I will definitely use my lifetime of knowledge to help my brother. But we have to make a deal that you two cannot intervene. Parents are always the easiest way to ruin relationships. The two elders agreed. We understand, we were just asking. When the two elders left after dinner, Lu Jingli went to find his brother for a reward, like a dog wagging its tail. Brother, wasn't I great? Wasn't I great? His brother threw something small at him. Lu Jingli caught it with one hand. What plaything is this? Looking at it properly, his eyes widened. It was a car key. The key to the 100th anniversary Bugatti race car he had been eyeing for so long, the only one of its kind ever made. Oh, my beloved little darling. Lu Jingli hugged the car key and kissed it madly. Brother, I love you. Lu Tingxiao had never given in no matter how Lu Jingli had pestered his brother before. Who knew his brother would throw it right at him just for casually saying a few words in front of their parents? That Ningxi held a higher place in his brother's heart than he had expected. The more Lu Jingli thought about it, the more anxious he became. That big brother, are you sure it's Ningxi? You're not playing and you really want to get married? Married. Lu Tingxiao's voice was firm, leaving no room for doubt or any other possibility. Lu Jingli sighed. Since he had experience, he had to give some advice. Then let me remind you to prepare yourself. Chasing after a woman like this is like playing a video game. There are different levels: easy mode, normal mode, difficult mode, and hell mode. And Ningxi is definitely hell mode. Women usually have weaknesses, but with Ningxi, you want to use money? Even with her looks, she's still doing so poorly in the industry, so she definitely isn't the type to accept a financial sponsor or shady deals. You want to use love? Take a look at the lovers she had when she was overseas. Her exes are everywhere in the entertainment industry, and each and every one of them is extraordinary. When I first saw the list, I was impressed, and I've never been impressed by something like this before. And if you want to get her pregnant, don't even bother to think that will work. She's completely focused on her career right now and does not want children. Even if I try for her myself, it'd be an 80% chance of a game over for me. A newbie like you would just be sacrificing yourself to give her experience points. Lu Tingxiao looked coldly at him. Lu Jingli smirked. Okay, it would 100% be game over for me. Don't sweat the small stuff, all right? The point is, I bet that Ningxi is just like me, someone who never wants to get married or have kids. This kind of person is skeptical of relationships and love. Freedom is their life. If you want to play around, that's easy. If you want to get married, that's really difficult. That's only because you haven't met anyone you want to marry or have children with yet. Lu Tingxiao's usually frigid and cold face seemed gentle in the moonlight from the window. Lu Jingli counted how many words his brother had said with a disbelieving face. Ah, people who are in love really are different. Even someone with no experience is giving me lessons. But what you said makes sense. So, now what? Do you need your beloved younger brother to help with anything? Lu Tingxiao gave him 2 curt words. No need. Lu Jingli was concerned. What do you mean, no need? Wooing girls is different from doing business. Think about it carefully. Don't you really need a smart and handsome god-level girl-chasing coach? Lu Jingli was doing his best to promote himself when suddenly the door to the study room opened with a creak. The 2 brothers turned their heads to look. When the 2 elders left after dinner, Lu Jingli went to find his brother for a reward, like a dog wagging its tail. Brother, wasn't I great? Wasn't I great? His brother threw something small at him. Lu Jingli caught it with one hand. What plaything is this? Looking at it properly, his eyes widened. It was a car key. The key to the 100th anniversary Bugatti race car he had been eyeing for so long, the only one of its kind ever made. Oh, my beloved little darling. Lu Jingli hugged the car key and kissed it madly. Brother, I love you. Lu Tingxiao had never given in no matter how Lu Jingli had pestered his brother before. Who knew his brother would throw it right at him just for casually saying a few words in front of their parents? That Ningxi held a higher place in his brother's heart than he had expected. The more Lu Jingli thought about it, the more anxious he became. That big brother, are you sure it's Ningxi? You're not playing and you really want to get married? Married. Lu Tingxiao's voice was firm, leaving no room for doubt or any other possibility. Lu Jingli sighed. Since he had experience, he had to give some advice. Then let me remind you to prepare yourself. Chasing after a woman like this is like playing a video game. There are different levels: easy mode, normal mode, difficult mode, and hell mode. And Ningxi is definitely hell mode. Women usually have weaknesses, but with Ningxi, you want to use money? Even with her looks, she's still doing so poorly in the industry, so she definitely isn't the type to accept a financial sponsor or shady deals. You want to use love? Take a look at the lovers she had when she was overseas. Her exes are everywhere in the entertainment industry, and each and every one of them is extraordinary. When I first saw the list, I was impressed, and I've never been impressed by something like this before. And if you want to get her pregnant, don't even bother to think that will work. She's completely focused on her career right now and does not want children. Even if I try for her myself, it'd be an 80% chance of a game over for me. A newbie like you would just be sacrificing yourself to give her experience points. Lu Tingxiao looked coldly at him. Lu Jingli smirked. Okay, it would 100% be game over for me. Don't sweat the small stuff, all right? The point is, I bet that Ningxi is just like me, someone who never wants to get married or have kids. This kind of person is skeptical of relationships and love. Freedom is their life. If you want to play around, that's easy. If you want to get married, that's really difficult. That's only because you haven't met anyone you want to marry or have children with yet. Lu Tingxiao's usually frigid and cold face seemed gentle in the moonlight from the window. Lu Jingli counted how many words his brother had said with a disbelieving face. Ah, people who are in love really are different. Even someone with no experience is giving me lessons. But what you said makes sense. So, now what? Do you need your beloved younger brother to help with anything? Lu Tingxiao gave him 2 curt words. No need. Lu Jingli was concerned. What do you mean, no need? Wooing girls is different from doing business. Think about it carefully. Don't you really need a smart and handsome god-level girl-chasing coach? Lu Jingli was doing his best to promote himself when suddenly the door to the study room opened with a creak. The 2 brothers turned their heads to look. Little Treasure was standing in the doorway. Surprise flashed in Lu Tingxiao's eyes. Ah, Little Treasure. Lu Jingli was also surprised. Little Treasure had actually left his bedroom at this hour. Little Treasure was standing in the doorway. Surprise flashed in Lu Tingxiao's eyes. Ah, Little Treasure! Lu Jingli was also surprised. Little Treasure had actually left his bedroom at this hour?